Billions of folks around the world are gearing up for tonight's New Year's Eve celebrations. In some parts of the world, of course, it's already 2019. This is Sydney, Australia, which takes great pride in being among the first to ring in the new year. They did it a couple hours ago.
And here in New York City, the NYPD says around 1 million people are expected to gather in Times Square tonight. Tony Dokoupil has more on how police are preparing for the massive crowds.
For the New York Police Department, preparing for New Year's Eve is a year-long affair.
When midnight strikes and the ball drops and everybody goes home, we start planning for next year.
John Miller is the NYPD's Deputy Commissioner for Intelligence and Counterterrorism. He says people hoping to celebrate here tonight will go through metal detectors first. No backpacks, coolers, or umbrellas will be allowed. Some people may even be patted down if officers feel there is something they need to take a closer look at.
It's not quite like going to the airport because we've got to move it through, but it has some of the same elements.
There will be plenty of police presence, many wearing tactical gear and armed with high-capacity weapons. Others will blend in with the crowd. On rooftops, snipers, plus officers embedded inside surrounding hotels.
So that if you have something that occurs in a hotel, either before the event or during the event, you don't have to figure out, well, which hotel is it? How are we going to get people there? All of that's built in.
Like last year, more than 200 police cars and sanitation trucks will block roadways to prevent a car from driving into the crowds. But this year, the NYPD will have an additional set of eyes in the sky. For the first time, an NYPD drone will be part of the aerial arsenal. It's designed to supplement police helicopters circling above and the more than 1,200 fixed cameras in the 10-block area below.
How does the drone fit into the overall plan?
The drone actually is able to give us a view inside any of the gaps between those cameras. It gives us flexibility, visibility, and agility that you wouldn't have with another device.
Tony Dokoupil joins us now from Times Square with more on the New Year's Eve preparations. Hi, Tony. Can you tell us how authorities are preparing in Times Square right now and how this year may be different from years past?
Sure. So where I'm standing will be one of the prime pieces of real estate to watch the ball drop. And to get to this location, people are going to have to pass through essentially security or airport security style guardrails. There's going to be the barricades. There will be bag checks. There will be dog teams sniffing for explosives. If there is anything suspicious, there may also be pat downs. Overall, there will be about 7,000 police officers on patrol tonight. That is an on-duty force described to me as larger than the total police force for most major cities around the country any night of the year. As for what's different this year, not a whole lot. Although the planning is year-round, most of that plan is right off the shelf. The one big key difference is aerial drones will be used this year for the first time. One drone at a time, as we understand it. It'll be tethered to a building, and at no point will that drone fly over what they call the bow tie area where everyone's going to be packed in. That drone will supplement police helicopters high above and about 1,200 cameras at ground level. And as we understand it, that drone will be able to zoom into areas that those cameras or the helicopter, for whatever reason, is unable to see. Guys?
And you mentioned no specific credible threats. So what are the principal things NYPD is worried about on a massive crowd night like tonight?
I mean, they're worried about everything. There is no specific credible threat, to use the term of art that police toss around. However, according to Deputy Commissioner Miller, who's in charge of counterterrorism and the Intel Bureau for the NYPD, he told us that the NYPD, or he told our colleague Mike Morrell earlier this month, that the NYPD has foiled roughly 30 terror plots since 9/11, and they are always on guard. Nonetheless, I also asked Commissioner Miller, or Deputy Commissioner Miller, what he would say to somebody who is worried, who doesn't want to be out here, who thinks New York is too much of a target. And he said, look, there's going to be a cop every 10 feet. This will be the safest place in New York. And if you still don't believe him, believe this. He's going to be here tonight with his own kids. Guys.
That's a pretty good indication. But Tony, we hear so many numbers thrown around. 1 million people are expected to be in Times Square. Is that what you're hearing? I mean, that sounds like a massive amount of people. How will that impact security?
Yeah. Well, I mean, whether it's one person or 10 million people, they're going to want to protect the area. I mean, it's a pretty visible event. Don't take the numbers too seriously. You've got the mayor of New York and the governor of New York State tossing out some big numbers. That's like taking the word of a fisherman on how big the fish is. They want this to be the biggest event on the planet, so they're going to tell you the biggest possible number. Crowd control experts have taken it upon themselves to point out that for there really to be 2 million people here in the space that is truly Times Square, it would be about 7 Yankee stadiums poured into just about 7 blocks. More than 3 people per yard. Physically impossible, in other words, for 2 million. So a more realistic number is maybe 1 million, but the crowd experts actually say it's going to be hundreds of thousands in the square proper. Now, there may be 2 million in the extended area all the way around. I mean, there's 2 million probably here right now. It's a big city. And of course,
if you count everyone in their apartment, then I'm sure we can get to the number one way or the other.
Take those numbers with a grain of salt. It's like taking an angler's claim to how big the fish was at face value. You just can't do it.
That's right. It's going to be a big night anyway you slice it. All right, Tony Dokoupil, thank you so much.
Thank you.